Okay, what is ISO? ISO is a way to solve a problem. What is the problem? The problem, for example, is you're taking a landscape, you're at f7, f8, because you know that's an f value that's going to give you a sharp photo, and you press a shutter and the camera tells you, well, the speed that I need to get a proper exposure is 1/10 of a second, and you know that under 1/40th of a second, you know, you're here at 1/10, under 1/40th of a second, you're going to get a blurry shot. So we have different value of ISO on our cameras. It usually starts around 100 and it goes the whole way up to 6400 and even higher on high-end cameras. Now, every time, so the value goes like this: 100, 125, 160, 200, 250, 320, 400. On most cameras, that's, you know, the settings, that's how they are. Every time you go higher and higher in number, you double the sensibility of the camera, you know, of the computer inside, of the chip. The chip is going to be twice more sensitive to the light. So if you're at 1/10 of a second at 100 ISO and you put 125 of an ISO, now you're not going to be anymore at 1/10. You're probably going to be at 120, which is still too slow, but you can then go to 160, and now your speed needed is going to be faster. You're going to be at 140 of a second, and you will be able to take the shot. So that's a great way to not have to use a tripod and to be able to make photos even when the light is getting a bit darker, you know, inside, or, you know, the sun is coming down. You can just boost the ISO and you don't need to take out a tripod, and you will get a proper exposed photo. Now, that there is a downside to this. More you boost the sensitivity of the chip on your camera, more you get noise. Now, it's getting better these days. Camera handle noise a lot better, but I would say, you know, on high-end camera, you are like fine from like 1000 on. But on small cheap cameras, even at 200 or 215 ISO, you start getting noise. Now, what is noise? Well, this is noise. This was taken at 3200 ISO with a very high-end camera, but look how noisy it is. You know, it's this little grain everywhere. It's not a usable photo. So ISO is good because it can save the day where you don't have a tripod and you can still take a proper exposed photo, but you have to be careful not to go up. And if you have the possibility to use a tripod, instead of boosting the ISO, you will always get a cleaner shot. For example, this was a portrait that I did inside, and it was a bit dark because the room was not, you know, was just a bit dark. So I opened it, my aperture to the max, because I want him to be sharp and I wanted the wall to be a bit out of focus, a bit blurry. The speed was 1 second divided by 50, 1/50th of a second. But look, the ISO, to get a proper shot, I had to boost the ISO to 1600 to be able to get that speed because it was so dark. The photo looks okay, but if we have a closer look at the photo, you will see that there is still a bit of noise. Even though I took it out in the software, you know, it's still a bit grainy. So I always try to avoid, you know, having to boost the ISO. That's my way of seeing things. For example, but it can take nice photo. I was in the middle of the night with this gentleman and I took this photo. I had a lens that could only open to f4. That was the maximum size of the aperture I can have. And I wanted to be at 1/40 of a second. So I had to boost the ISO at 1600 ISO so that I could get a proper exposure. So I could have 1 divided by 40 of a second speed. And and I took the noise out in the software, and it's kind of a usable photo. So it's still very useful to have this ISO option.